All right, welcome. Thanks for being here. It's the Aries new moon is late tonight, early Tuesday morning. So we're gonna have do the ritual today and the class today. And let's see, just for those of you that maybe don't know me, I'm Sheridan Semple. I'm a shamanic astrologer and a medicinal aromatherapist, as well as a holistic health practitioner. And how things are going to go in the class today is we're just going to first talk about like what the heck is going on astrologically. Instead of doing that at the end, we're going to do it more at the beginning because there is so much going on and we're obviously experiencing so much right now. And then we'll learn about the new moon and specifically about Aries, the new moon being in Aries. And then we will learn about a couple of essential oils, cinnamon bark and red pine, that really support the Aries energy that's coming up. But interestingly, I picked these like before the coronavirus hit, and they are amazing antivirals and really help us deal with stress and stuff too. So it's just this great serendipitous connection. And then we'll end with our new moon intention ritual. So if you have a candle available, grab it, because Aries is a fire sign, so we're going to do a little bit of a fire ritual with that. Maybe some paper, pen to write things down. If you have any essential oils with you, then grab those. I love using aromatherapy to ground us into the earth and the connection, that shamanic connection. We'll be using those. If you don't have them, that's completely fine too, because you can still connect to the earth without essential oils. So, okay, well, let's just get started. I just want to kind of open and start with creating a bit of a sacred space. So if you feel like closing your eyes, you can, and just start to feel your seat, wherever you're sitting on, wherever you are sitting. I will start to kind of mute some people so we maybe don't hear that background noise. And maybe you can feel your feet on the floor. If you have some essential oils, I'm going to use a little of the red pine. Oh, it smells like the forest. And I'll put some on the crown of my head and my throat, maybe on my tummy and my heart. And if you don't have any essential oils, that's fine too. Just feel your seat and kind of start to feel the magnetism of the earth, right? We know the earth has this magnetic core, and feel that magnet just start grounding and pulling you down into her, right? Gravity, let gravity help you ground and connect into the earth. You could be growing roots out of your root chakra, like the tree, like the red pine, down into the earth. You could see rays of light, energy streams reaching down to earth. However you like to feel yourself, just start connecting, reaching down, growing longer through the bottom of your body, and finding that place of just peace in your connection to the earth. Nothing else is going on. There's no stress, nothing else from today. We're just connecting into our home. Just let the weight of everything going on just drop down into the earth. Let her recycle that energy. And then simultaneously, while you're grounding, begin to bring some of your awareness up into the sky, to the new moon right now, which is traveling with the sun. So wherever the sun is in the sky, the new moon is right there. And just bringing your awareness to the new moon. into the sky, to that universal energy around us all. And as you breathe in the earth, you breathe in the sky, in the moon. And as you exhale, you reach out to them. So those energies are reaching into you while you are reaching out to them. And on the inhale, feel those two directions meeting in your heart, commingling in your heart. Feeling your heart growing larger, expanding, energy moving beyond the boundaries of your chest and your back, your body, into your energetic field and beyond to each other. Everyone here live on the call and everyone who will listen to it and watch it later. Just creating a circle of love, compassion, open hearts to each other. I'm just feeling that circle of all of us together here, everything that's going on, but we're all here connected in this together with the support of the earth and all the energy of the universe in the sky. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and I will begin. I will share my screen. And we are going to look at first what's going on astrologically in the sky right now, because I usually do this at the end after the ritual, but there's so much going on right now, so I wanted to share. So you can see in the red circle here, we have, starting from the top and kind of going down, the south node. This is the circle with the line through it is the rising sign, which is just at the moment, right? This is a screenshot of what's happening right at the moment of the new moon, which would be at 3:28 in the morning, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. But we have Jupiter and then Pluto and Mars, and then Saturn's not that far away. Saturn has been in Capricorn here until Saturday. It just shifted into Aquarius, right? So basically it's this lineup of all these planets here together, which Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn are going to travel together for most of the, sorry, I'm just trying to get the mute going so we don't have to hear that background noise, are going to travel together for a lot of this year. And those three planets together is not something that happens all the time. It hasn't happened for over 700 years. So it's kind of a big deal. It's an important thing that's happening right now. And it really mirrors and reflects what we are experiencing on the planet right now. Okay. And I'm going to explain why that is. So there is a, Saturn is all about what is really working on the planet and what is not working on the planet, right? It's very real world, three-dimensional, here right now, what's working, what's not working, right? So it helps us to really bring up the things that are not working and shift those things, right? That's its ultimate intention. And then Pluto, which is kind of the big player right now in the sky, they all are, but Pluto is an underworld planet, meaning it's really what's in the shadow, what's in the subconscious, the things that we've been like burying have been hidden that we're not looking at, that type of thing. So Pluto is bringing all of those things that are really not working in the world right now up for us to really look at, right? So we're kind of feeling that, but it also brings up a lot of fear as well, right? Big time. Pluto's all about fear. The way it teaches and helps us to look at the shadow and the darkness and the things that we don't want to be looking at, it does it a lot through fear and feeling very powerless. Because it ultimately brings us to a place of just surrender for whatever is the new that can come in. And that's where we find the power, which is Pluto's ultimate gift. And then, so we've got this like shadow component happening around what's working and not working on the planet, all this fear and intensity coming up. And then on top of that, we have this Jupiter component there as well. And Jupiter is all about, it just expands the energy, right? So it's just kind of puts this magnifying glass on it and just adds this intensity, right? So we have, you know, the structures of what's really going to work and not work, all this, you know, shadow, darkness coming up around it, right? Our whole way of life is getting completely shook up right now, and we don't really know where it's going to go. That's a very Pluto type of energy. And all of this being in Capricorn, Saturn was in Capricorn until just a couple of days ago. All of this means that it's all happening in a very community oriented space. That's what Capricorn is all about, is community, our culture, our people. How do we figure out what works for the generations to come? What kind of shifts do we need to make in order to keep our, you know, sustain the community for the generations to come, right? And we all know from an environmental perspective that we've been on a trajectory that doesn't sustain us for the generations to come. But with all this happening in Capricorn, it's really amazing because it's really giving us an opportunity to shift into what could work for the generations to come. And I'm not saying any of that is like easy or it's going to be easy or that there's not chaos, right? Pluto's all about this fear and disempowerment and having to just surrender, because we just have to let go and let whatever's new come through. And when we get to the end, I'll talk about, from a shamanic astrology perspective, some of the ways that we suggest to go about that coming forward. So, you know, I'm not going to go into like every little detail of everything, but I just want to give you a snapshot of that it really, there's a lot going on that is reflecting what we're experiencing. So in shamanic astrology, we don't say Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn are doing this to us. We say they are this outward reflection, a mirror showing us of what our intent is during this time, okay? So that saying, as above, so below, as within, so without, we take that as being literally true. So it's not that the sky does something to us, it's just this mirror reflection of what our intention is during this time, okay? So I think it's empowering to be like, to feel that there's a purpose behind it rather than it's just chaos in and of itself, okay? So then the next thing I'm going to go into is I'm going to show you about the moon. Okay, so we'll learn about the new moon. So the new moon is the time when the moon and the sun travel right together. Okay, so they're conjunct just the way we talked about Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, and Saturn are all conjunct right now. And so that's what's happening with the new moon. It happens every month when they travel together. And Chiron's right there too, which I'll talk about more towards the end, right? So I just want to give you a visual because I think it's important to understand what's happening in the sky rather than just knowing about it more of like an intellectual understanding. So if the sun is coming in here from the right of your screen, we're here on the earth. The new moon here is when it's close to the sun, and an eclipse is when it's going in literally in front of it, right? So we don't have an eclipse right now, but it's right there. So we can't see any of the light on the moon. It's on the other side. And then as it starts to move towards the first quarter, we can see half of it. And then the full moon is when it's on the exact opposite side. So we can see all the light, and then it comes back around here to the new moon. And so going back to this image, you can see here, the moon and the sun are right together here at 4 degrees Aries, right? So that's the Aries new moon. Okay, so let's learn about Aries in particular. So Aries is a fire sign, and fire signs, that means they are all about intuition and action, right? So Aries is a very intuitive sign. It just knows and goes, right? It's not a big thinking sign. It's not a big feeling sign. It's all about just knowing, feeling in its heart, its gut, and then taking action. Fire takes action really easily, and Aries does that almost the most of the fire signs, I think. It's considered in shamanic astrology and in service to culture or in service to the community sign. So it goes a lot in line with the Capricorn stuff we were just talking about. Meaning that its focus, what it does, its prime directive has to serve the community and the culture in some way. Some of the signs are in service to spirit, and that's their focus. Some are more in service to self with a capital S. Aries is an in service to culture sign. It's right brain, so it's more circular in its thinking, right? It's intuitive, and it has a more of a masculine energy. We're not saying it's male, right, by gender, just that it has a masculine type of energy. And the spring equinox, which we just had, a few days ago, is when the sun reaches 0 degrees Aries in the northern hemisphere. So the spring equinox just happened because Aries just started with the sun. So Aries is all about having a mission and purpose, right? It's committed. It needs to know what it's doing. It's the sacred warrior, the warrior protector. I think that's one of the best ways to think about Aries, is it has that real warrior type of energy, which is like on a mission. It has a purpose. It's unmistakable. It's uncomfortable not knowing what its mission and purpose is, right? So depending upon if you have Aries in your chart and where that is, these things could really resonate for you. It might be really personal to you, or it could be that just right now we're all living in the Aries soup, as a friend of mine calls it, right? So we're all in this type of energy, whether we have it in our chart or not. But if you do have it in your chart, depending upon where it is, you're either kind of trying to learn about Aries, or you're already really an expert at Aries. And that means like being that warrior protector. I think of Wonder Woman as being like the best example of Aries, right? She's got a mission and purpose. She's a complete warrior, totally in service to the community, right? And she's just badass and awesome. And that's what Aries is completely. So Aries is considered the defender of the cosmic order, or like the universal type of order is another way you could look at it. It's the defender of the universal type of energy, right? Could be like unconditional love. If you're more religious, it could be God, all that type of thing. Aries is all about having a really committed action, being really focused, super straightforward, right? The warrior is not like wishy-washy. Aries is not wishy-washy at all. It's 100% in to whatever it is it's doing. And with the new moon being in Aries, these are the types of energies that can come into play for us. Maybe some of us are, we're really committed to staying healthy right now, right? And we're taking massive action to stay healthy and protect ourselves right now. Our mission and purpose is to stay healthy right now, right? We're the protectors, the war, it's really an appropriate new moon energy, and it's a perfect time for us to be setting this new moon intention. Aries can be really into aggressive type of play, right? They have a real love of competition, not because they're, you know, wanting to like crush people, not like a negative shadow side of competition, but just the love of how it like takes us all to our best place competing for some of us, right? It's the rugged individualist, right? Very individual, really knows itself through its own self-experience. It's a lot about innocence and having courage. So it's not a super like complicated, multi-layered sign. It's pretty like straightforward, and what you see is what you get. Aries people tend to be very like, it's free-spirited, it's a very fun-loving type of energy, charismatic, it's actional, like I said, about fire, it's independent, spontaneous, decisive, strong, brave, and enthusiastic. It likes excitement and adventure. Aries is a lot about developing a personal will and self-awareness. That's a lot of what Aries is here to learn about and do. That personal will plays into that mission and purpose. Like Aries really has to have a mission and purpose. And Aries gets a lot of its identity from its accomplishments and its achievements. And then I like putting these questions in the spiritual path. So Aries asks, what is the nature of the righteous and the noble cause worth fighting for, right? So that could help us somewhat inform our intentions today, right? You know, personally, what is like a righteous or noble cause worth fighting for right now? What's our intention with that right now? And then Aries' spiritual path is being that culture bearer, right? In service to culture, the warrior protector, and commitment as the foundation for true freedom, right? When it's totally committed, there's all the freedom in the world because it knows exactly how to act and what it wants to be doing and accomplishing, right? Rather than like, I don't know, indecisiveness, there's not a lot of freedom in that. That's more binding, shall we say. So now let's learn about a couple of essential oils that I think really supports this Aries energy. And the first one is cinnamon bark, Cinnamomum xylanicum. And these are, it comes from a tree. So you can see these are, you know, individual sticks from this tree. And you can see in this picture where they roll and cut down on the bark to get like the cinnamon sticks that were in the last picture, but also ultimately carved down to what you see that you might put in like tea or your coffee or something. And so cinnamon bark's spiritual and emotional uses are, it helps with relationship issues like love, sexuality, jealousy. I think that's apropos because love is a really important piece we'll talk about in a little bit. It helps people who have had sexual abuse experiences. It really brings up core issues for healing. It brings connection to the present moment, which again, I think is very supportive of what's going on right now, and very Aries, right? Aries is very present. It helps with healing for feeling like withdrawn or separation, which is a lot of what's going on right now. You know, I mean, obviously I'm just like, wow, you can't make this stuff up. I picked these oils like months ago, you know, and it's just like so amazing how it's perfect for what's going on. Cinnamon bark dares you to explore your inner resources and act on your interior guidance. That's very Aries, right? It goes into itself. It's got the intuition. It knows. Cinnamon bark helps you improve that connection to your intuition. It transforms struggles and upsets into sweet moments. Again, beautiful for right now, and it helps build your connection to the light. Again, I think another really important thing right now. The physical uses is cinnamon bark is like super hot. It's like hot essential oil. So you always want to do a patch test first because it can be very warm on your skin, but you can layer it with other oils that are cooler so you don't have a reaction on your skin. It's what I like to call the anti. So cinnamon bark is major antiviral. So it's one I've been putting like a drop on my tongue once a day, and just kind of swishing that around in my mouth and swallowing it. I also put it in like tea, or sometimes people put it in coffee or just your water. It's hot, so see how it feels in your mouth for you. You know, if I put like a few drops, it's definitely a little too hot, but like one drop's perfect. It's also antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. So it's one of those all antimicrobial type of essences, like most of the hot essences are. And since we're in this whole world right now, I'll just mention like other really big heavy hitter antivirals are like oregano, thyme, mountain savory, clove. I'll just say those again. So oregano, thyme, mountain savory, clove. Those are all big antiviral essences that are all hot, like cinnamon as well. So you need to layer them, put them on the bottom of your feet, that kind of thing. They're ones that I've been like using, you know, a few times a day just for my own protection going through this. Cinnamon bark is also really good for digestion. It helps with diarrhea, nausea, any kind of digestive stuff like colitis. It's good for motion sickness. It's a big heart strengthener, right? So Aries is a big heart sign, heart strengthener, circulation. It's a hormonal aphrodisiac, increases appetite. So it's has been beneficial for people with anorexia. Tooth and gum care, you can put a drop on your toothbrush or put a little on your floss. It's a little hard for me to do that, but I know plenty of other people that do that and they love it. So it may not be too hot for you. And then warts, because warts is a virus as well. So I just wanted to add that in there. And then next, red pine, Pinus resinosa. So red pine, its spiritual uses, it's spiritually expansive, just like Jupiter is right now, for a new way of thinking. Right now we have Jupiter expanding kind of this intense energy that's going on, rather than expanding something that's like maybe super positive. But red pine is spiritually expansive across the board. Pine is very grounding. All pine, all trees, spruces, firs, very grounding, right? They have a deep root system that goes down into the earth. They're here for hundreds of years. They're way connected to the earth. All the trees are, so that it's very grounding, which is really key right now, right? Because it's intense, it's scary, people are freaked out, right? So grounding, it's very calming. It's really supportive to the adrenal glands, right? So that with stress, the adrenal glands are taking a bit of a hit right now. All the conifers, like I mentioned, the pines, spruces, firs, they all help support the adrenals. So that's good. They're just calming. They're nervines, meaning they just bring the anxiety down. So this is something like you could use repeatedly throughout the day to like help you ground, calm down. It doesn't have to be red pine. I'm just talking about that for Aries, but you could use something else. It helps with anger, increases passion, which is these are both Aries things. Like the shadow side of Aries can be like anger, intensity, root chakra. That helps with manifesting energy, which I think is important right now, manifesting what we want as we come out of this eventually. Red pine helps you to understand your unique expression of life. Again, very Aries. Validates and strengthens your gifts and talents. It helps with self-worth, boundaries. All trees help with boundary issues. It instills positivity, right? That's very Aries as well, and something that I think is very beneficial for all of us right now. Depression, blaming yourself, right? People that have a lot of issues where like when things go wrong, they totally take it on themselves. Red pine is amazing for that. Again, another kind of Aries sort of thing. And then Native Americans use the red pine twigs along with cedar and juniper for smudging to purify the spirit, much like you'd use white sage or the sagebrush that we have here in our fields. So they use red pine for smudging, which I think is just interesting to know as well. So, okay, physical uses. Detoxification, conifers are all about detoxing, so that's a good thing to be using right now, right? You're trying to lower your toxic load to help your immune system use the resources to keep your immune system strong, rather than like your body having to use the resources to detox, right? Adrenals I talked about, it's a natural cortisone, so you can use it for pain, inflammation, it's anti-inflammatory, it's also antiviral, just like cinnamon bark, right? So I like during this time, like I'm using multiple antivirals. I'm not just using oregano a few times a day. I'm using lots of different things. If you have access to that, if you don't, use what you have. With essential oils, I would say love the one you got, but if you have that, use other things, because you're going to be getting more energy, more constituents from different types of plants to help your body stay strong. It's also antibacterial, antifungal. It helps with fatigue and nervous debility, so like nervous weakness, right, from stress. Colds and flus, right? Viruses, it's an expectorant. Lung and sinus congestion, respiratory infections, congestion, right? So it's a big one for what we're dealing with right now so much. So it's one that I love to use for that, for sure. And I got everybody muted, but I can't find the noise that's coming there. So if you can mute yourself, it's not giving me the option of like everyone. Sorry. There we go. I got it. Okay. Okay, so erectile dysfunction for men, pines are amazing for that, red pine especially, and then like prostate enlargement, prostatitis, that type of thing. Okay, so let's see where we want to go next. All right, now we will start to move into our ceremony, our ritual. And I got this Aries goddess invocation from Kaylin Castell and Tammy Brunk, who teach these Venus classes. That's at venusalchemy.com. But I loved this goddess invocation, and I thought it would just be like perfect for us to get into that space as we start to set our intentions today. So you can read along with me if you like. O mighty warrior goddess, you who guides us to restore the cosmic balance through wise use of our mighty power and strength, help us to fully express our wild, fierce, feminine soul and reclaim our courageous hearts. As we step up to activate and cultivate our divine fire, our holy mission and noble purpose, illuminate for us our personal cause, enliven our soul and spirit with direction and purpose, fuel us with the resolve to gladly meet any challenge that stands in our way. When we see injustice, power over, and suffering in our world, help us to first turn inward and strengthen our warrior heart. Assist us in meeting our personal demons with fierce love and compassion as we actively commit to healing our own distortions. Show us what inspired actions we can take that right the wrongs, protect the innocent, restore justice and balance, and transmit further restoration and healing in our world. So let's just start to sit in silence for a few minutes and get clear on what is one intention you would like to set for yourself at this new moon, right? So the new moon is the time that you plant the seed. It's the beginning of the cycle. You could think of it as like the new year, the beginning of the month, where you plant the seed of your intention for this one moon cycle, right? So it can be tempting to try and set like every intention for everything you ever want to have happen. But let's try and just focus on like one or maybe two like intentions for this 1 month, this one moon cycle. So now I will be silent and you could take a few moments to kind of settle into what is that intention, that seed you want to plant, maybe informed by this Aries energy, what's going on right now, and then write it down if you like. And now I'm going to read a prayer to the new moon. You could keep setting your intention. And then if you want, you can take your piece of paper and burn it in the candle. So the prayer to the new moon. Under this new moon, I'm grateful for a new beginning. I invite my spirit, my guides, and great mystery to guide me in setting my intention for this moon cycle. Honoring my ancestors and my indigenous roots, I connect consciously to the new moon with my light, my heart, and love. May I be in alignment with spirit and setting an intention that supports the evolution of myself and my soul. I am certain that I hold in my heart that I will get there. I am one with the moon and the divine, and so it is. So whenever you're complete with setting your intention, if you did write it down on a piece of paper, you could take your candle and you could burn it because it is a fire sign. You could also do that later, or if you have a candle and not paper, you could speak it into the flame and then blow the candle out and let it go out into the smoke to the universe. Whatever you feel drawn to do, we'll go ahead and do our ritual right now. And then whenever you're ready, we'll come back into the class focus. And I'll just share a little bit from that shamanic astrology perspective of how to best kind of navigate what's going on with, you know, the things that we shared before and talked about, and obviously what we're all going through and experiencing with this pandemic and all the things that have come with it. So from a shamanic astrology perspective, we always talk about, and this is like part of why it's considered shamanic, is we talk about the three worlds, right? So there's the celestial world, which is like the spiritual world that's very like high vibe up into the cosmos. There's the middle world, which is a lot what Saturn and Jupiter are about. We talked about that's like the real world, quote unquote, right? The physical earth world that we're living in. And then the underworld, which is what the Pluto component we talked about, which is the shadow, what's hidden, the things that are like not working, that type of the things that need healing, essentially, right? So what we suggest during this time is stay rooted in all three worlds, right? So there's the perspective from the celestial world that like it's all good, everything is unfolding exactly as it should be, right? There's nothing to be ultimately afraid of, it's all going to work out exactly as it should be, right? So sorry, my husband's taking a picture because someone needed a picture of me like teaching, but we'll wait because it's got a flash. So sorry about that. So the celestial word is totally true, but right, if we just stay focused there and kind of do this like light bypass, right, a spiritual bypass, like it's all good, it doesn't matter that like people are dying and all these horrible things are happening, right? We don't want that. But we want to stay rooted, keep one foot in the celestial world, that it literally is all okay. Then the middle world, right, which is where things are really like happening, we're experiencing, and we can't get things at the store, we can't go out, or you can't interact with people, and you have to wash your hands and be careful, right? Prepare, protect yourself, take care of yourself to the best of your ability in the real middle world, right? Wash your hands, social distancing, eat well, take care of yourself, rest, right? Like use your resources to bolster your immune system, not crashing it, that type of thing, right? To the best of your ability, right? It's not so easy to take the best care of ourselves when we're stressed, but to the best of your ability. And then the underworld, right? Keep one foot in the underworld too, of, you know, that ultimately you just have to like surrender and let go, right? We don't know what's coming. We don't know how things are going to unfold. We don't know who will get sick. We don't know if we'll get sick. We don't know any of those things. We cannot possibly control that. So like surrender and just let go, right? Be okay with feeling really powerless right now, because that surrender is what ultimately brings us back into the power and the light, right? The circle, the underworld goes back to the celestial world, down to the middle world, back to the underworld, right? So staying rooted in all three of those places, and not just one, not just the fear, not just compulsive hand washing, and not just the polar, you know, the spiritual bypass of like, oh, it's all good. Keep your mind rooted, yourself rooted in all three. And then ultimately, the last thing I want to share is there's a book by Golas, Golas, called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. It's from the 70s. And in it, he says, and I think this is the very best thing that we can all possibly do right now: love as much as possible from wherever you're at, right? Love as much as you possibly can from wherever you are, right? So you don't have to be better. You don't have to, you know, be anything you're not. Just open your heart and love as much as possible from where you're currently at. So that's the class. Thanks for being here. I will, like I said, I'll end the recording in a second, and then I'll stay and take like all your questions, answers, sharing, anything you want to do.
once recording's off. And the next class will be on the Taurus new moon, Wednesday, April 22nd. And we'll learn about the essential oils rose and lang lang, which are like beautiful Taurus, yummy, yummy essential oils. So thanks for being here now and for being here later if you are listening to this later. All right. Whew. Peace, health to all of you, and love, lots and lots of love. So.